All right, now, everybody. Quiet, listen to me. We're going to start a show. Now, some of you people have been with me before. You know it's going to be a tough grind, but we're going to have a show.
Oh, my gosh. Folks, please remain standing. Yes, please. I am overwhelmed by your recorded applause. It is quite a magnificent thing on this Wednesday in America. Yes, we are a troubled country, but we are not completely crashing against the rocks. There are still those in America who are guiding the ship of state, or trying to. And among those who are the opinions that once in a while, Albert, when I start speaking like this, I realize, wait a minute, I've just spoken myself into a corner. I don't even know what I'm saying. And I feel like that's one of those moments.
Albert, thank you.
Just,
can't get out of it.
Yeah, I really can't get out of
Morning.
it. I don't know what...
Have you ever been a member of the Chinese Communist Party?
What I'm trying to say is there are opinions that help shape Albert, what am I trying to say? Do you have any thoughts on...
I don't really like the way this whole show has started. Can we start over again?
Kim is here.
Kim, how are you?
Yes. What I'm trying to say is, in the body politic, there are opinions, you see, that will ultimately influence collective thought. And one of those opinions is with us today. John Rothmann joins us bottom of the hour. That's kind of what I was saying. In hour two, Belinda Waymouth is here with It's the Planet Stupid News of the Environment. The EPA, as you know, essentially being dismantled. Bring on the pollution. Let's get this country back to the 1960s when you couldn't breathe, you couldn't swim, you couldn't plant anything, you couldn't have your kids go play outside. Let's get America back to that. And that is the state of the environment. We'll talk to Belinda back there. Actually, there's a phenomenon that is going viral. It's about mass movements of animals in Yellowstone. It has been wildly misunderstood, and I will speak to it along with Belinda when we talk to Belinda later in the program. It'll be hour two. There is much going on, and we will get to it. The thing that really whipped Albert's head around was the fact that In-N-Out Burger is leaving California, was the headlines. But in truth, they're not leaving California, are they, Albert? They're going to remain here.
Yeah, my heart stopped for just a quick second until I realized it was I guess the heiress, or the one who's in charge of it.
Yeah, the heiress. That's exactly right. She inherited
the billionaire who feels it's just too hard to raise a family in California.
Her name is Lindsay Snyder, I believe, and she is of the belief that California is too expensive. It's too. I think she's at odds with it politically a bit, and that might be a polite way of putting it. And she is moving a part of In-N-Out. Kind of as they expand, she's saying, they're moving to Tennessee, where life is better, life's more affordable, and she's leaving California behind. But she wants people to know, and she made a public statement about it, that, look, she loves California. California's where they built this great brand, and In-N-Out isn't going anywhere, except we are expanding to Tennessee, and that will allow our employees to be able to buy homes. This was kind of the good spin on it. There are others would say she's a hard right-winger. She is, you're right, she's a full-on, anti-Cal.
They put the Bible passages on the inside of the hats and the bottom of the cups.
Yeah,
they
I didn't know that.
Yeah, they're very, very religious, and they give a lot of money to conservatives. But she said there's a lot of great things about California, but raising a family is not easy here, and doing business is not easy here. Well, really? Because doing business here allowed you to build In-N-Out. I mean,
apparently it didn't stand in your family's way. Exactly.
I'm reading here that Tennessee doesn't tax individual income, and it ranks as, according to the CNBC ranking, number 8th overall in terms of how much money they're taking from people, I guess, in taxes.
Keeping more of those billions for herself.
Well, it's
Better for her kids.
By the way, that's a great question. What is the net worth of the CEO of In-N-Out Burger? What's the net worth of Lindsay Snyder, the woman whose visage is on the screen right now? She's built In-N-Out along with her family. It was really kind of built.
It's hard out here for an heiress, Mark.
Yeah, it's hard out here for an heiress. 33 billion, says John Watson. That seems like a lot. 200 billion, says Phineas. Jeez, guys, do you know how much $1 billion is? 200. Guys, let me just help you. Elon Musk is the richest guy in the world. How much is he worth? 236 billion, something like that. So she can't have 200 billion. Just based on that, let's have some reason to these guesses. Is all I'm saying.
That's a little sexist, Mark.
Well, I'm just saying you would hear her in the conversation. Wait a minute, who said 6 billion? Somebody said 6 billion. Bring me 6 billion. 6.7 says Gil. That's correct. 6.7. Yeah, Gil. And I'm sure you came up with that 6.7 without Googling it, Gil. Yeah, 6.7.
7.3 actually in the article that I'm looking at.
Oh, is it really? Oh.
Yeah.
You're right.
7.3 billion, yeah.
7.3, you're right. 6.7 was the old, they sold some additional burgers in the time that this article was written.
This is a double wild style, and that really rolls in the cash.
Gil, I'm taking away your ding of the 6.7, but I'm also taking away my smart-ass comment about you having Googled it, because that's not the actual correct guess. So 7.3 billion. Anyway, she and her crew headed to Tennessee, where life is sweet, and they can sip chilled drinks on the back porch of some Tennessee mansion. Anyway, that was the big news that we were kind of all beside ourselves with. The other big news, and I would put this into the Jeffrey Epstein distraction category, was the news that Donald Trump and the House MAGA wing of the GOP, they can't move quickly enough to pledge their love for everything Trump. And in this case, they want to rename the Kennedy Center Opera House after Melania Trump.
They are kissing my ass.
They are everything Trump. They want to sidle up to. The House Republicans on the Appropriations Committee approved an amendment to the Interior, Environment, and Related Agencies Annual Spending Bill that would rename the Opera House in the John F. Kennedy Center as First Lady Melania Trump Opera House.
What?
Yeah.
They made it contingent as well. It's conditional. You don't get funding for the Kennedy Center unless you change the name to this ridiculousness.
I would say this. I'll be good changing the name to the Melania Trump Opera House if Melania Trump and Donald Trump together can name 3 operas. All I'm asking. 3 operas. All
I don't know
right?
if I could name 3 operas.
Exactly. That's why they're not naming opera houses after you. You're not some fan of the opera, nor is Donald Trump, nor is Melania Trump. But that is the latest distraction. And let me say, this isn't a distraction necessarily that Trump cooked up, but it's just like one more thing that's going on. It falls into the sycophants that has kind of defined Washington as this leader has come to power with such great strength and grip over this entire party. The fact is that there is. Oh, I didn't see this. There is a White House painting of Donald Trump surrounded by the American flags and bald eagles.
So this is with the Melania thing and these are these wild distractions from the dirty, dirty Epstein scandal. This is him.
Yeah, we will get to that.
Shooting in wild directions, trying to, claim attention for all of these things. So they did this picture and it's a painting. Yeah.
Oh, there it is.
No, this is different. I have it in there. This is a painting of Trump surrounded by the American flag and bald eagles, and it's captioned, "I was the hunted, now I'm the hunter." That's a quote we've heard him say before. But it's this very tacky picture that he's posting. So it's just one of these crazy things.
It would be really great if we had that picture right now. Do we not have it?
I think Albert's working on it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sycophants is a ding word. You're right. And thank you. I actually got a comment yesterday. I'll tell you, I read the comments under the video. So of those who are just joining us, there it is. I was the hunted. Now I'm the hunter.
Yeah.
Another strong picture of Donald Trump. If you're just listening and not watching, he's kind of got that. And remember, this is a painting. He has that kind of square-jawed look into the distance as though he is vanquishing evil and defending all those things that are America.
With the fireworks in the background and the eagles flying in. The White House official account on X posted this, and they said with the comment, "They came after the wrong man."
Oh, yes, they sure did. Well, again, this is the stuff of madness. I think actually the word you used, tacky, is exactly right. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
but tacky has sort of begun to define Washington. And you can call me a lib, and you can call me, an elitist or whatever. But there was and always has been, I think, in this republic, a decision made that those things that pertain to power would be related to the people in such a way that gaudy palatial things, for example, associated with the White House, gold and big statues that don't have historical significance, but just have more of an ornamental significance, this kind of over-the-top decoration that they're doing, that would never be something that we would do in America, because the idea is that the people, I mean, obviously this is something that is a fading dream, but that the people would have a connection to the government and to power such that, whose house? The people's house, right? The White House is the people's house, that you have a stake in your government, and not only a stake, but a voice in the future. And so in that way, elevating any one person as you would a king or a ruler is something that's very un-American. And through the decades, that has at least, that philosophy has been more or less reflected in, again, as I say, the ways that might just strike you as superficial, but nonetheless can be significant. So again, muted tones through the White House. When you go in there, there's a sense of grandeur in the White House, but there isn't a sense of royal grandeur. It's not like, it's not over the top. It hadn't been. Now when you go in, there's a sense of a palace, like you're going into Buckingham Palace or something like that. They have really reconstituted the White House, again, in these superficial ways. So that painting, with Trump surrounded by eagles and flags and look in the distance and the fireworks, it's so tone deaf to the way America has always been, at least as it's reflected in leadership historically, even if it's just been lip service that's been paid to the people's voice. It's just strikingly different than we've seen through the decades. But there it is. I was the hunted. Now I am the hunter. And a hunting we will go. All right. Welcome. Yeah.
The Mark Thompson Show.
So I know that this Jeffrey Epstein thing is something that when you look at the range of problems and challenges and policy decisions that have to be made in this country, Jeffrey Epstein really is not a point of significance. But what has vaulted it to a point of significance is the political relevance it has had, and it continues to have, and Trump's obsession with it. And when you have a president working so hard to skate away from something, it begins to take on a significance from the standpoint of mystery about what might be wrapped up, in this case, in the Epstein files, and also the true toxicity of this thing, such that it's weighing down the Trump presidency. Now, that's not to say that he's not still able to do all of the things that he wants to do, pursue these immigration policies that are chaotic, that are aggressive, that are illegal, to build these detention centers, to go after the tariffs that are, again, also chaotic and illegal. But this is just muted, honestly, by the size of this Epstein controversy, because the controversy associated with Jeffrey Epstein is, I think, informed so much by just how horrifying a guy Epstein was. I mean, he really had compromat, it seemed, on so many powerful people, such that he was able to get away with human trafficking. It's a grotesque, truly skeezy, awful thing to read about what Jeffrey Epstein and his associates did. And one of his associates, his prime associates, former girlfriend, and then became kind of the right-hand person for Jeffrey Epstein. Mm-hmm. She's serving time right now, Ghislaine Maxwell, right?
Yeah.
Well, what we've learned is, and we touched on this yesterday with David K. Johnston, is the number 2 person at the Justice Department is going to go meet with her. That in itself is extraordinary. I mean, her case has been adjudicated. The cake is baked. She's serving 20 years. Why you would go meet with her behind closed doors while there are congressional subcommittees that want her to testify in the open about what's in something of the Epstein files, that is bizarre. It almost, as we were saying yesterday, only could point to a deal. Like, what additional information do you need from her? You fired, Pam Bondi did, the prosecutor, James Comey's daughter, who was the prosecutor against Jeffrey Epstein, the one who got the conviction. You fired her. That just happened a couple days ago, right? So I don't understand exactly what's going on unless, as I think we all have come to understand, you're going to try to figure out a way in which she might get a lesser sentence for time served or whatever it might be in return for an understanding that can be implied or can be explicit that what she says will not implicate Donald Trump. Clearly, there is stuff in this Epstein file that is damaging to Donald Trump. Has to be. Otherwise, why would he be so obsessed with it? It doesn't make any sense. If you truly had an innocuous relationship where you were just pals, didn't know anything about it, and first of all, that's impossible to believe that you would be around that guy as much as they were. They were best friends for so long. For you to be that close to someone and not know that he is a pedophile and a human trafficker, to say it strains credulity is to be polite. So now Pam Bondi will also be going to meet with her. The stakes in this Ghislaine Maxwell meeting have just been upped even further. Albert, do you have there's a story on this, and I liked the legal wrap on it. And here it is from just a couple of hours ago.
The Justice Department now intends to interview Jeffrey Epstein's accomplice, Ghislaine Maxwell, who's currently serving a 20-year prison sentence in Florida for sex trafficking. Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche announced plans to meet with Maxwell in the coming days, saying, quote, if she has information about anyone who has committed crimes against victims, the FBI and DOJ will hear what she has to say. Maxwell's attorney confirmed discussions with the government are underway, adding, quote, Ghislaine will always testify truthfully. President Trump was asked about the outreach to Maxwell at the White House yesterday.
Do you support the Justice Department seeking an interview with Ghislaine Maxwell? Did you urge the Attorney General to seek?
I don't know anything about it. They're going to what? Meet her?
Your Deputy Attorney General has reached out to Ghislaine Maxwell's attorney asking for an interview.
Yeah, I don't know about it, but I think it's something that sounds appropriate to do, yeah.
Do you have any concern that your Deputy Attorney General, as your former attorney, would be conducting the interview, given?
No, I have no concern. He's a very talented person. He's very smart. I didn't know that they were going to do it. I don't really follow that too much. It's a sort of a witch hunt, just a continuation of the witch hunt.
But there it is. Let's bring in MSNBC legal correspondent, former litigator, Lisa Rubin. Lisa, good morning. What would you expect the Deputy Attorney General to be asking Ghislaine Maxwell at that federal prison in Florida?
First of all, the existence of a meeting between the Deputy Attorney General and any person who's incarcerated is remarkable. Yeah. And so when Todd Blanche wrote in his ex post yesterday, no administration has ever done this as if it were a good thing. I just want to take a step back and recognize why it's so atypical that a political appointee would go to see a convicted felon. It's because Ghislaine Maxwell was prosecuted some time ago. She had an opportunity to testify in her own defense at her criminal trial. She didn't take it. But presumably the conversation between Todd Blanche and Ghislaine Maxwell is going to be, what didn't you say that you're willing to say now in exchange for some form of leniency? And the reason I think that there's a deal to be had is where Ghislaine Maxwell is in her criminal conviction journey, so to speak. Her conviction has been upheld by the Second Circuit, that's the Federal Court of Appeals, last November. She is in the middle of briefing a petition to the Supreme Court to review her conviction. And the sole question for review by the Supreme Court, if Ghislaine Maxwell gets her way, is, am I entitled to the rights and privileges that Jeffrey Epstein negotiated when he negotiated that sweetheart deal with Trump's first labor secretary, Alex Acosta? If so, I should have never been prosecuted by the Southern District of New York. But of course, getting the Supreme Court to review that conviction is an uphill battle to begin with. And then winning is also an uphill battle. So Ghislaine Maxwell very much wants to get out of prison. She has contended that she was wrongfully prosecuted and convicted. She may be willing to say certain things or tell certain truths in order for some leniency from this administration.
At least
there you go. That's what I wanted you to hear. I mean,
or lie. She may be willing to lie.
I think that was, kind of the unspoken part, reading between the lines, to tell certain truths, meaning she'll say whatever she has to say to get out of prison.
Sure.
You have the top people at the Justice Department going to meet her. And I'll remind you of something that I mentioned to you when his name first came up, and that was a long time ago. Todd Blanche, who is number 2 at DOJ, he used to be Trump's personal attorney. And this is the guy who, and Trump has surrounded himself by these personal attorneys. We talked about Emile Beauvais, who is likely on track to be a Supreme Court justice and going through Senate confirmation. That's another one who is Trump's personal attorney. These are people who have tremendous loyalty to Donald Trump. And so anyway, in the case of Blanche, he's going down there with Pam Bondi, I guess, apparently now, to talk to Ghislaine Maxwell. I mean, if that doesn't tell you everything that you need to know about the importance of this Epstein file, that should, I think, animate even greater interest in it. So, it's double-edged. But if I were Ghislaine Maxwell, I'd make sure that there were some other people there besides just those two, because you could just all of a sudden start thinking about taking your own life in ways in which I don't buy the Jeffrey Epstein took his own life story at all. Not at all. And all of these people sort of being suicided, I think it's all too possible. So, by the way, Jeffrey Epstein probably, based on what I've read, didn't even think he was going to be convicted. He didn't even think that he was actually going to end up in prison for any length of time based on the deal he'd made with Alex Acosta. So the idea that Jeffrey Epstein committed suicide, I think it's laughable. Absolutely no chance. And so Ghislaine Maxwell now meeting with top DOJ people. Now she has leverage, right? She has information and she has the power, I'm sure they think, to maybe defuse this situation, which has become so very explosive for Donald Trump. So in this moment anyway, maybe she can maneuver some sort of escape, legal escape. We'll see. But I mean, all things are possible. Meantime, before I get to Rothmann, new video has come out to further animate this Epstein thing.
And
Pictures have come out.
Trump is angry about it too. He just can't, no matter how many distractions he fires off, he can't get rid of this scandal. And every day the press is not letting up. And now we have new old pictures, a fresh take on old classics showing Epstein at various Trump events, including his wedding to Marla Maples. That would be wife number 2. There he is with his kids, a little too close to Epstein, right, with the children. And then there's video. I think that we have video of him at a Victoria's Secret fashion show as well, where they're chumming around and laughing and looking at people. Yeah,
he's there they are. This is, if you're just listening, these are just various social events, and I'd include the Trump wedding as a social event, in which you find Jeffrey Epstein prominently alongside Trump. So that's the fashion show, and you find Trump and Jeffrey Epstein. So the idea somehow that, Trump barely knew him, he really just can't skate away from his relationship with Jeffrey Epstein. It was very close. He shows up in the flight manifest at least 7 times that we know about. And so it's a real problem for Trump to say that he didn't know Jeffrey Epstein very well. So he's now just trying to avoid the subject completely. But the reality is there is something, if not many things, in the Epstein file that Trump does not want released, which is why he did the head fake thing with Bondi, saying, please look into releasing the grand jury testimony, which is like 1/1000th of what's in the Epstein files. Read any of the excerpts, even from some of the civil litigation. I mean, the victim testimony it's moving. I mean, what they did to these young girls, 12, 13, 14 years old, some even younger than that. So, what's alleged here and the information that is compiled in those Epstein files, it is so very damning and damaging, and even MAGA Nation would have trouble swallowing it. But Matt W. says 1,000% that's what's going to happen. They'll promise to pardon her right before Trump gets out if she plays ball. They definitely want her cooperation. And let me just say this. They couldn't find a more willing player. She wants to get out. What do you guys want me to say? I'll say it. I mean, I'm sorry. This isn't some woman who's going to stand on principle. She's an incarcerated person who desperately wants out. And if you're telling me I've got to say A, B, C, great. Where do I say it? Show me the cameras. Show me the microphones.
Well,
Let's end this madness.
It's not like she's someone with good morals. Look what she's in jail for. I mean, lying is a pittance for her. It's like nothing.
Right. And I must say this about her. And again, I get this from victim testimony. Apparently, she's very charming, warm. She comes across very well. That's why they were able to groom so many of these young girls into this horrifying existence in the orbit of Jeffrey Epstein, where they could call them in the middle of the night and they would come over and take care of some guy who is a heavy hitter, Wall Street person, government person. Look, Prince Andrew was involved in this, and British intelligence. And by the way, we'll talk to Rothmann in a moment. Rothmann would tell you this. British intelligence may be the elite of the elite when it comes to intelligence communities. America has great intelligence. Mossad, of course, Israel, very, very well-developed elite intelligence force, and the British as well. If they looked into this and they reported to the royal family details such that the royal family said, we want nothing more to do with Prince Andrew, that again gives you an insight into the Epstein files. These are incendiary. They are radioactive, and Trump does not want them revealed. Randy says the New York Times has just reported that the judge has refused the request to unseal the transcripts of the Epstein grand jury. Yeah. By the way, that was part of the arithmetic already. You know, to ask for something that you knew the judge would say, no, we can't do that. Right. But as I say, even if the judge had granted the request, there's so little there relative to the wealth of information in the Epstein files that it really wouldn't have made a difference. But again, this is all theater. It's all performative. It's all to show the effort that they're making. We want to get this out into the public. Look, I just asked the judge to release those files. And most people in MAGA Nation, they don't know, right? Grand jury testimony, whatever. They want, ultimately, they want their man to be on the side of the righteous. Maybe Ghislaine could only name Democrats. That's right. Thank you, Ms. Apollo. That's right. Not looking well, indeed. Not looking well. All right. That's a quick wrap on the situation with Epstein to this moment. We'll give you more. This is a story that won't go away. I told you yesterday, and now you're seeing it play out, that Congress is adjourning early. MAGA Mike Johnson is adjourning Congress early so they won't be able to vote on the release of the Epstein files, a vote that the Democrats want. Trump is trying to pull this across the finish line. He's getting all the help of MAGA Nation in Congress. But ultimately, the more they squirm, the more they deny, the more they say it's not important, the more it grows in importance. Katzenjam says, listen to him. He doesn't know anything about them going to threaten Maxwell. She's toast, shaking my head. They could spirit her away anywhere and call her an immigrant being deported. Yeah. It is true. That is certainly true. I had one more piece of video before I get to John Rothmann. It was, what else did I have? Albert, did I have something before Rothmann? I could run it even with Rothmann. Let me get to Rothmann, and if Albert, you can tell me what video I might have left out. Try to find video for you that is pertinent, that's relevant, and kind of forwards the discussion. So that's kind of what
it was for later. It's an Epstein video. It's Trump speaking in the Oval Office.
Oh yeah. We'll watch that with John Rothmann. Okay, good stuff.
The Mark Thompson Show.
Before I get to anything else, I have to tell you that I am enjoying a cup of pour over coffee this morning from Coachella Valley Coffee. It is a divine experience, if I can just use that word. It is really something special. If you'd like to also share in the magic, Coachella Valley Coffee is organic coffee, comes from women-owned businesses. They are actually given seed money by Coachella, so Coachella Valley Coffee is able to build these businesses in Latin America and Africa, and it's organic farming, and comes to this country, then these beans are hand roasted. It's a boutique roastery. I've always loved this coffee. I can't believe that they are sponsors on the show. That's how the universe has worked for us, I guess. But in any case, I want you to try it. So CoachellaValleyCoffee.com is where you find it. I'm crazy for this Clarity blend. I've just got into this in the last couple of weeks, It's this lion's mane added clarity blend, really great. So I'm recommending that. But everything there, the Ocotillo espresso, I'm a big espresso guy. I love that. I love the El Gato. I love their sunrise blend, and the teas are amazing. Kim rocks the Moroccan a lot. We love the tea in my house as well, and we also like the cold brew. So get it all, get whatever you want. They're tasting notes and tasting profiles under everything. They do such a thorough job, and they really are. And there's our Why Are You Yelling decaf, which comes from Peru. So take it all, put it in your cart, and on the way out, take 10% off everything on the site using our discount code MARKT. CoachellaValleyCoffee.com. Use our discount code MARKT and enjoy the magic. You will love it.
The Mark Thompson Show.
This man is a distinguished lecturer, historian, author, and our former colleague at KGO Radio. He is the great John Rothmann. Welcome, John.
Thank you, Mark.
So, John, there's a lot going on. I was saying before that the Epstein scandal is super relevant because of the political effects it's having on Trump. And the more he tries to skate away from it, in a way, the more relevant it becomes. When I stack it up against the things that are happening in the country, tariffs, deportations, the lawlessness of all of these things that this administration is doing, in my judgment, it doesn't measure up. I mean, aside from the real cost that there is associated with the victims. But what I mean to say is, because of its political relevance, I think it really is a front and center issue now.
I agree with you, and it's going to continue to be. All you have to do is watch. And the biggest, most telling moment was when Speaker Johnson, as you pointed out a few moments ago, sent Congress home early. There's no doubt about it. This is a scandal which, let me emphasize, is more involved with a cover-up than anything else. And that's what brought Nixon down, the cover-up, not the Watergate break-in, but the cover-up. And what you're seeing now from the White House is a cover-up, and there's no doubt about it. And Republicans are very uncomfortable with it, and the Democrats obviously are uncomfortable. And the point is, if there's nothing to hide, why are they doing this? That's the question.
Well, let's look at something from the Oval Office. Trump is, again, for Trump, there's no meeting worth having unless it's on camera. So he's having a meeting with the new head of the Philippines. And by the way, this is Marcos's. This would be Ferdinand Marcos's son.
It's Ferdinand Marcos Jr., who's been president now for quite a while, actually.
Now, John, you'll correct me if I'm wrong, but Ferdinand Marcos was a brutal dictator of the Philippines, was he not?
Yes, who was ultimately overthrown, you will recall. And he and Imelda made all their money and did all their stuff. But his son inherited the Marcos machine and is running it quite well.
The reason I mention it is one of the things that Trump said during these sort of pleasantries that are extended is, you're from a great family. Your family is such a great family. I'm thinking, such a great family. He was a brutal dictator who was overthrown by the people of the Philippines. I mean, again, it was kind of like the where did you learn English and learn to speak so well moment. It was just a little bit weird. Here is a little bit of the Oval Office back and forth. So again, during that, Trump gets a question about Bondi and Todd Blanche, the Justice Department top heads, going to visit Ghislaine Maxwell.
Seeking an interview with Ghislaine Maxwell and George, the Attorney General, to see.
I don't know anything about it. They're going to what? Meet her?
Your Deputy Attorney General has reached out to Ghislaine Maxwell's attorney asking for a new interview.
Yeah, I don't know about it, but I think it's something that sounds appropriate to do, yeah.
Do you have any concern that your Deputy Attorney General, as your former attorney, would be conducting the interview, given?
No, I have no concern. He's a very talented person. He's very smart. I didn't know that they were going to do it. I don't really follow that too much. It's sort of a witch hunt, just a continuation of the witch hunt. The witch hunt that you should be talking about is they caught President Obama absolutely cold, Tulsi Gabbard, what they did to this country in 2016, starting in 2016, but going up all the way going up to 2020 of the election. They tried to rig the election and they got caught. And there should be very severe consequences for that. You know, when we caught Hillary Clinton, I said, you know what? Let's not go too far here. It's the ex-wife of a president, and I thought it was sort of terrible. And I let her off the hook, and I'm very happy I did. But it's time to start after what they did to me, and whether it's right or wrong, it's time to go after people. Obama's been caught directly. So people say, oh, you know, a group. It's not a group. It's Obama. His orders are on the paper. The papers are signed. The papers came right out of their office. They sent everything to be highly classified. Well, the highly classified's been released. And what they did in 2016 and in 2020 is very criminal. It's criminal at the highest level. So that's really the things you should be talking about. I know nothing about the other, but I think it's appropriate that they do go.
May I ask you about that, Mr. President?
Yeah.
Tulsi Gabbard has submitted a criminal referral to the Department of Justice. From your perspective, who should the DOJ target as part of their investigation? What specific figures in the Obama administration?
Well, based on what I read, and I read pretty much what you read, it would be President Obama. He started it. And Biden was there with him, and Comey was there, and Clapper. The whole group was there. Brennan, they were all there in a room right here. This was the room. This is much more beautiful than it was then, but that's okay. I have nice pictures up. They came out of the vaults. They were in there for 100 years. This is much more beautiful. We have the Declaration of Independence now in the room, which wasn't here. I guess people didn't feel too good about putting it here, but I do. But you know what? If you look at those papers, they have them stone cold, and it was President Obama. It wasn't lots of people all over the place. It was them too. But the leader of the gang was President Obama, Barack Hussein Obama. Have you heard of him? And except for the fact that he gets shielded by the press for his entire life.
All right, there you go. That just let it. First of all, of course he's got this the knife out always for Obama, but I wonder if you could speak to this Tulsi Gabbard revelation that she has discovered enough in her intelligence community looking at the 2016 election, again, another obsession of Donald Trump, to actually produce a criminal referral to the Justice Department related to Obama.
Use the word that we did not hear in this recording, but which is everywhere, about treason. Donald Trump said that Barack Hussein Obama committed treason. Do you understand? Never in the history of our country, not since the Civil War, have we heard treason used in this fashion. And may I say, it is so appalling, it is almost beyond words. I do not understand why there isn't universal condemnation of this.
The Gabbard tweet, Albert, she posted in social media, which is, I guess, just the way stuff is done in this administration. She posted something that was really designed, I thought, based on the post, to appeal to the boss, to the president. She said, their goal, this is from the DNI, Tulsi Gabbard, the Director of National Intelligence, their goal was to usurp President Trump and subvert the will of the American people. No matter how powerful, every person involved in this conspiracy must be investigated and prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. The integrity of our democratic republic depends on it. We are turning over all documents to the DOJ for criminal referral. And of course, the attached document is new evidence, it's titled, of Obama's administration conspiracy to subvert President Trump's 2016 victory and presidency. So the specifics here, I think, fall into the category of that which the opening statement falls into, crafted for the president to feel good about Tulsi Gabbard and the job she's doing. This goes nowhere. And this is the question I have for you. First of all, I'd love for you to comment on that, but also, wouldn't, even if this were true, and I'm sure it's total BS, but even if it were true, wouldn't the actions of President Obama be covered by the immunity decision made by the Supreme Court?
Well, that's exactly right. But let me be clear about this. Do you understand? Do our listeners understand that Donald Trump accused former President Barack Obama of treason? Treason. There was no ambiguity about his statement. And to me, that is the most appalling thing. You can't make this up. I talked with somebody who said, John, you're so outraged. Why are you outraged? And I said, because I get outraged every time they do something like this. And on the Epstein case, it's purely a deception. The simple truth is Donald Trump could release all the files on Martin Luther King Jr. relating to the assassination. If he said release the Epstein files, they would be released. And I don't know if there's anything in them. All I know is that Epstein was convicted, is now dead, but Donald Trump clearly does not want something revealed. And it is what he does not want revealed that needs to be understood. Republicans are panicked. Why do you think Speaker Johnson, as you pointed out, why do you think Speaker Johnson brought the session of the House to a quick close, sent them home? They don't want to have to deal with this. So that means that we will continue to wallow in this until September, when Congress comes back. And at that point, maybe we'll find out. But in the meantime, Donald Trump is getting away with accusing Barack Obama of treason. And let me be clear, there are many things on which you can disagree with Barack Obama, but Barack Obama did not commit treason. Oh, and by the way, you heard in the thing that Albert just played, that the president of the United States referred to Hillary Clinton as the former wife of President Clinton, which of course is inaccurate. But he is completely out of his mind when it comes to these things. And may I also quickly point out, you and I come out of radio and television. And look what the Trump administration is doing to NPR, both on radio and television. There's a story in this morning's Chronicle about the fact that the independent radio station up in Eureka and television station may go into bankruptcy. They won't have the money to continue. And that's happening across the board. There is something terribly amiss. And I don't care whether you're a Trump supporter or not. This kind of vindictive misuse of power is exactly what the founders opposed. And well,
I wanted to just say one thing quickly about treason. Treason is a very, very high bar to clear to actually get a conviction. That you'll remember even in the J6 stuff, they talked about treason and they talked about other things. Generally, these things are related to a wartime situation in which there might be espionage or might be, collusion with the enemy.
Sedition.
Yeah, but even sedition is not right. Sedition can be in the same category, but that sedition was relative to the J6 people that was invoked in that way, and actually they achieved convictions. But of course, they all got pardons. But I guess what I'm trying to say
Donald Trump.
Yeah, by Donald Trump. Treason is one of those things thrown around. My dad was a constitutional lawyer, and I used to go. I remember as a kid, is that treason? Is that treason? And my dad used to have to go. Treason is so difficult both to prove, and also the definition is slippery. So it's one of those words that's really powerful, and it's a great headline grabber. But from a legal standpoint, treason is one of those things that is seldom invoked anymore. So, but in any case, he uses it because it's a headline grabber, as I say. I just want to run out what he had to say, or what is sort of the Russian interference in that election is something that the intelligence community has identified, John. I mean, I'm talking about the 2016 election, and in reports, the intelligence assessment of the 2016 election found that some standard procedures were not followed, with analysts having been given an unusually short time to produce their report, but the review did not refute the findings of the intelligence assessment that Russia sought to interfere in the election. Again, that was the agency review in 2017. But
that is correct. And I want to point out, I played ads on the air produced by the Russians for strategically placed districts in order to give Trump an advantage and disadvantage Obama, and I rather Clinton. And I think it's very important to point out that, of course, the Russians interfered in the election. Question of collusion, and my son Samuel challenged me on this. He said, well, there was no proof of collusion. There was proof of interference, and collusion implies that Donald Trump supervised it. I don't think he supervised it. I think the Russians did it to assist him.
Right,
of course,
right. I mean, that seems indisputable, you know.
Oh, no,
based
he
on,
disputes it. Oh, no, Donald Trump
he disputes it, but okay. This is a rare moment during which Obama came forward through a spokesperson and said the following. In a statement sent to reporters on Tuesday, a spokesperson for former President Barack Obama dismissing Donald Trump's ridiculous accusation that Obama had committed, quote, treason in 2016, by directing his administration to reveal after the 2016 election that the Russian government had attempted to boost Trump's candidacy. The statement from the spokesperson is this: out of respect for the office of the presidency, our office does not normally dignify the constant nonsense and misinformation flowing out of this White House with a response. But these claims are outrageous enough to merit one. These bizarre allegations are ridiculous and a weak attempt at distraction. Nothing in the document issued last week undercuts the widely accepted conclusion that Russia worked to influence the 2016 presidential election, but did not successfully manipulate any votes. These findings were affirmed in a 2020 report by the bipartisan Senate Intelligence Committee led by then chairman, wait for it, Marco Rubio.
That's correct. But I want you to know,
well, that's huge. I mean, dude, your own people. Guy. Look to you've given him, you put him in charge of the State Department and 5 other things because you keep firing people and you keep giving the stuff to Marco Rubio. His own committee said that there was an attempt to interfere in the election, and indeed, Russian interference was present in that 2016 election.
Don't confuse people with the facts, Mark.
So that's where we stand. I just wanted people to hear what Obama's response was.
Yeah. Now, but to me, it is so profoundly disturbing. And in a normal time, there would be tremendous outrage. There would be fury. But Donald Trump has created a situation in which nothing is normal. And I said, actually, the other day to someone, it's not normal. And they said, but what Donald Trump is doing now is the norm. It has become normal. And that is the ultimate American tragedy.
I want to ask you what the future of FEMA is in your view. This is just to pivot for a moment, because, you know, the Texas flood disaster shows at one time the imperative that FEMA responds to, right? And it also shows how a well-run agency under a director who has their act together can make a difference or completely screw things up. Yeah. The Christine
Good job, Brownie. Remember that?
Yeah. I mean, that was from Hurricane Katrina. But in this case, you have the biggest natural disaster in the history of Texas, that in certainly modern history, and I think in the history of the state. And you have Christine Nome having imposed some kind of ridiculous draconian budget request so that anything that exceeded $100,000, she had to have personal approval of. Well, virtually everything done when it comes to addressing a natural disaster of this size exceeds $100,000. So you had literally days and days going by. They were unable to get staffers on the ground. They were unable to provide basic assistance because even basic assistance exceeds that threshold of $100,000. So that's just one example. I'm asking you about FEMA because I think there'll be more of these natural disasters, and they're going to hit red states too, man. Florida, along the Gulf Coast, Louisiana, etc. It's hurricane season, and a lot of Donald Trump's MAGAville will be affected by this as well.
The proof is in the aftermath, Mark, and that is that Donald Trump called for the removal, the extinction of FEMA. He's no longer doing that. Now they're talking about making it better. But the simple truth is, not only has FEMA been gutted, NOAA has been gutted. Not only that, they're not allowed to report the weather crises around. I mean, it's insanity. And May I tell you, if I sound frustrated, it is because I am. This is not a normal time. This is not a normal administration. Whether you're dealing with the Epstein case, and by the way, we've only touched on the release of the Martin Luther King Jr. files, which is the ultimate distraction over the objection, by the way, of the Martin Luther King Jr. family. I mean,
Well, that was so clearly a distraction and just red meat for his base. But just to put a button on FEMA, the former urban search and rescue chief has now resigned and said that the resignation was because of the policies of the new administration that delayed disaster response to this deadly
that is correct
area of Texas. Yeah.
Will there? I guess my problem, and if I seem almost tongue-tied, which is not normal for someone who is in our business, it is because what is happening is so outrageous. It is so egregious. It is so unprecedented in the history of our republic. And the fact that Trump is getting away with it, and the fact that the Speaker of the House of Representatives is sending the House home until September in the midst of all of this is absolutely incomprehensible to me. I'm going to teach a course in 5 years on the Trump administration, and I will no doubt have a lot more to say because we'll know a lot more. But everybody should understand how thoroughly horrific what is happening is for all of us. And may I say, I haven't talked about ICE with you.
No, this is exactly the question. Phineas is saying, ask Rothman about ICE, a.k.a. Trump's Gestapo, something we need to be seriously concerned about, how we can stop them. Go ahead.
Phineas, I didn't know you were going to ask the question, but I can only tell you my friends in the Hispanic community are terrified. And I know you all have the same feeling. My sister's son is married to an El Salvadoran woman whose mother is afraid to go out of her house because she's afraid she'll be rounded up and deported. And of course, we all understand the implications. I remember reading about the Palmer raids. A. Mitchell Palmer, who was the Attorney General under Woodrow Wilson, and they rounded up people from Eastern Europe, by the way, primarily Jews, and deported them back to Russia because they were viewed as extremists. That went to the United States Supreme Court in 1920, and the Palmer raids were stopped. My question is, where is the Supreme Court on all of this? It is one of the ultimate tragedies for this great country that the failure of the Supreme Court in these matters is so clear and precise. It is a real blow to American democracy as we know it, and I hope it can be reclaimed. That was the other question that was posed to me. What happens if we get a president of the United States who will reverse much of this? They can reverse a lot of it, because a lot of it's been done by executive order. But the damage is severe. What do you do with the thousands and thousands and thousands of people who lost their jobs in vital agencies? Look what's happening right now in FEMA, in NOAA. Look what's happening in the Justice Department. Do you know, Mark, the Civil Rights Division of the Justice Department has been cleaned out? And now, how do you get a fair process going?
As you know, there have been mass resignations at the Justice Department, FBI, the same story. FBI, of course, doing the loyalty tests with
what Donald Trump has done is
the lie detectors. Yeah,
I mean, you and I agree on that. And one of the reasons why I'm so delighted to be able to be with you on this program is because we need to spread the word. I do it in my podcast almost every single day. My podcast today is all about the charge that Trump made against Obama of treason. Can you imagine a former president of the United States of America being accused of treason? Wait a minute. Can you imagine the same guy who did that also said that Barack Obama wasn't qualified to be president because he wasn't born in the United States of America? Talk about conspiracy theories that are absolutely ridiculous.
I want to finish up with the death of Roy Black, who is the Epstein lawyer. On the one hand, it was mentioned in the chat just a moment ago, and I don't want to leave without mentioning it or touching it. I don't see the comment now, but anyway, Roy Black was an Epstein lawyer, very high-profile attorney, defense attorney who defended Epstein. He's the one who made the deal with Alex Acosta. He's the one who made that deal. This deal that was literally a get-out-of-jail-free card for Jeffrey Epstein. So Black dies at age 80. and he was like considered the greatest of all time. You know, he was like the Michael Jordan of law, of defense attorneys. And I'm just, simply because you're such a student of history, and I'm sure the Roy Black name has rolled around in so many high-profile cases.
Absolutely.
I wanted you to at least have a chance to speak to it.
Well, we don't know the circumstances, but I can tell you this: Comey's daughter, who was the lead prosecutor on the whole business with Epstein, was fired last week. Was fired. She'd been in the Justice Department for 10 years.
She's the one who secured the conviction. Exactly.
Exactly.
John, is this witness tampering or intimidation? Bird Dog is asking when you have these high-profile Justice Department people, the top of the Justice Department, Bondi and Blanche, going to meet with Ghislaine Maxwell. Is that
yes? The argument can be made.
Yes. Yeah.
There is no precedent for this kind of thing at all, ever. And look, here's the problem we're having, Mark. It's one thing after another. You and I could spend the next 10 hours going down the list of outrageous things that have happened. First problem is, how do people keep it all straight? The second problem is, you now have media being censored, being controlled. You have a suit against the Wall Street Journal for $20 billion. Mark, if you could just file a lawsuit against somebody for $20 billion, you wouldn't have to do any fundraising. Well, you'd be an independent force.
Well, he's been able to do it, John. He's been able to leverage. Now he picks these
and
numbers.
And there is no precedent for it in American history.
Apparently, just when you go through these defamation lawsuits, you can name whatever number you want, and then, if you actually get it adjudicated, they work out the numbers. But he doesn't want this to actually go to trial. The Wall Street Journal defamation case is all about Epstein. You'd be able to be able to depose him. I made this point a few days ago on the show. You'd be able to depose Donald Trump, and you'd also get access to all these files. You absolutely would have legal right to review all of these materials. So he doesn't want it to actually go there. This is all, again, distraction, intimidation, pushback. But let's be fair, John. He has a lot of leverage as president of the United States. He can make life pretty bad for Murdoch. He's already done it. He got ABC to tap out. He got Paramount CBS to cancel Colbert.
CBS?
And the 60 Minutes lawsuit settlement. I mean, he's got major academic institutions rolling over for him and legal institutions. This is a scary time in America.
Thank God Harvard is fighting back, and many academic institutions are fighting back. But Mark, I want to thank you, because what you do on this program in terms of alerting people, my only regret is that we don't have more people attuned to this. And there are still people who say, well, he did win the election. Just let him go and do what he wants to do. We'll judge him in 4 years or 3 years now. I have to tell you, the price of liberty is eternal vigilance. And I believe that what Donald Trump is doing is so destructive that it is almost beyond words. And I want to reiterate this: to accuse Barack Obama of having committed treason is an obscenity, an obscenity.
John can be found daily. Around the Political World with John Rothmann is the name of the podcast. All you need to know in like 8 or 10 minutes. I forget, is it 8 or 10 minutes?
Depends on how long-winded I am.
What?
I like a man who's not bound by time. And next week is our last visit with you, because then you go on vacation for a little while, right?
Yes, I'm going to be away for 3 weeks. I want you to know that it will be extremely frustrating for me not to be able to communicate with you each week, but I know that you will handle it well, Mark. And I will be here next Wednesday, but I want to urge everybody to support the Mark Thompson program, but not only support it, let people know about it. The more information gets out about what is revealed here on the Mark Thompson program, I think the better off we are. And may I say,
love that we have time for that little endorsement. Go ahead. Well, we don't have time for you to say anything nice about Kim. I'm sorry. Thank you, John.
No. I'm just going to say, Mark is away. Mark is going to be away the next couple of days. If you need me for anything, Kim, I am your servant.
Oh, that's sweet. All right. Well done. John Rothmann, everybody. Thanks, John.
Thanks, Mark.
Bye-bye.
Feel it in your soul. The Mark Thompson Show.
Right on, everybody. Thanks to everybody who helps to put this show on. I'm talking about our Patreon and PayPal people. We are a crowd-funded show. We're the NPR PBS model. So the show is free. It's free everywhere. It's free on YouTube as a live show. We do a live show from 2 to 4 in the East. It's 11 to 1 in the West. And then you can hear the show across all the different podcast platforms, Spotify, iHeartRadio. We're on the Apple Podcast platform as well, Google Podcasts, everywhere. It's all free, but it's made free and it's made possible by our Patreon and PayPal supporters. And if you're one of them, thank you. And you know, I roll everybody's name, unless people have said, please don't use my name. I'm making this contribution, but please don't. I don't want to be acknowledged. There are a handful of people like that, but everybody else is on that scroll at the end of every show because you're the reason we're here. You make every show possible. So if you're not yet part of that crew and you want to consider it, jump on the Patreon or PayPal platforms and join for whatever small amount. You can find the links under all our videos, Patreon and PayPal. There are live links to both. Or you can go to our website, themarkthompsonshow.com, and there are live links there as well. And if you're really into it, you can jump on our merch. The new merch store is banging, man. It is really doing well. And there's some really cool designs. Courtney's been involved with the designs, and it's a pretty fun thing to wear at the next Coldplay concert. So rock it out, everybody. Yeah, right on. Thanks again. Well, there it is. Albert's got it up. GetMarkMerch.com. There are some of the designs for summer, the T-shirts. Yeah, I'm just looking here to, I got to blow this up a little higher so I can see it. Oh, there are jackets and hats and all kinds of fun thing. And the socks, which I love. Rock the sock. Yeah. Look at those socks. Gosh, those are great. I like the white hats, too. The new merch line is very, very styling. So they've got a bomber jacket, really? Jeez, that's wild. Cardigan.
The golf vest. That's nice.
Yes, very little something to wear to your next affair. It's quite special, really.
We have processes and protocols and standards,
don't we? And we do. And I think the new merch line quite conforms with those. And this is our merch showing up in Bruges, Belgium. Isn't that where Bruges is, Rothman? Wow. I think it's in Belgium.
Yeah, in Bruges. Yeah, Belgium.
And it's
Google it.
No, I just told you where it is. You don't need to Google it. And our that is our hat. Isn't that, what is that? What would you call that? What do the kids call that kind of hat?
I would call that a beanie.
Beanie, exactly. Yeah. So the beanie showing up in Bruges, and also it's made its way around all of Europe. So there it is. I would love it if you took us wherever you go. Wes Theory with a $10 super chat, and Wes says this: lost my wallet yesterday, so I turned off my credit cards. Here's 5 for yesterday, too. The thief snuck into my house and put my wallet back in my washing machine overnight. I found it this morning. Sneaky. Yeah, it's funny about that, isn't it? Oh, isn't that wild, where you're waiting, going, I don't want to cancel the stuff. I know it's going to turn up. I'm going to find it. Then you go, God, I got to cancel it. It's not turning up. And then bam, it turns up. Michelle Walton, look at you. Thank you for the super sticker, Michelle. And a big shout out to you. Big shout out. You and Wes. Thank you, everybody. And the lady Beatrice, too.
Big shout out.
Is any of this damage fixable? Will our next Democratic president be able to reverse any of this mess? Well, as we just noted with John, a lot of this is done by executive order. So the answer is yes. But I'd suggest that for example, supercharging of the ICE crew with the addition of tens of billions of dollars to make them, from a budgetary standpoint, the 15th biggest army in the world. You can't undo that. You'll need Congress to undo that. But a lot of the other stuff that Trump is doing can be undone. But that, again, is providing for the Democrats winning an election. I don't know that that's going to happen. I love this Epstein thing for the way it is engulfing the Trump presidency. That's why I like it. Otherwise, it's a tawdry, awful, gross thing. But the fact that Trump was involved and it's got a stickiness that has political relevance, that makes it very important, and it makes it something that you as a voter and a concerned citizen can do something with. And today is the birthday of Spencer Christian. Is that right? Nullifidian, our favorite weathercaster of all time, America's weathercaster, Spencer Christian. It is his birthday. Kim.
Yeah, it is. I'm looking on Facebook, and it is today.
Kim, how could you not keep track of this? How could you not keep track of this, Kim?
How old is Spencer Christian is the question to you.
I blame you.
All right. Well, you can blame me, but I'm sure Spencer is way older than we think. He looks great. He takes care of himself. He works out regularly. I will take a guess at Spencer's age. I don't want to. In fact, let me give you a Hollywood guess, okay? This is where you guess somebody's age and you guess much lower just because that's the Hollywood thing to say.
So it's the age minus 10 years?
I'm going to say Spencer, he might be 71, something like that.
Oh, pretty good. Yeah. You want the real answer?
All right. How old is he?
78.
Wow. Man.
And he's working and he's on TV and he looks great and he's doing all kinds of wonderful things. I think it's all the red wine.
The red wine sometimes can help. D. Elliott says, who is Spencer Christian? I can't believe that.
What?
I can't believe you could ask that question, D, but I will tell you, former Good Morning America weather person and friend of the show, and that we and Spencer and I had sort of a shared path in the world of television personalities and weather people is something that we talk about on the show. We used to talk about it a lot because of Spencer in San Francisco, and our radio show was in San Francisco. So that's the deal. But that's really cool. Spencer, happy birthday, buddy. We love you. We really do love you. And want you on the show again soon. So.
The Mark Thompson Show.
Now, how do we miss a quiz opportunity? I agree, Ron. We kind of had it. You're right. That was a half-assed quiz. But no, I don't know. Now, Albert, I have a couple of places to go here. I still have some things I want to get in. What are we waiting for? Asked Chaplain Fred in the super chat. What are we waiting for? Why is everyone afraid of Trump? Trump has done far worse things, and we are entertaining Epstein. What a distraction. You're not completely wrong about Epstein being a distraction from some of the horror that I've talked about. I even generally, and you heard it today a couple of times, I'll offer a preamble. Excuse me if I got a cough. I'll offer a preamble to discussion of the Epstein issue. And the preamble is generally something along what you said, which is when you add up the things. I'm sorry, I've got to take a drink of water because I'm coughing like crazy. Hang on.
Well,
Tim, please talk to the boys and girls.
We'll talk to the boys and girls about, well, I don't even know exactly where you were going with that, but I'll just remind everyone that Spencer Christian did manage to swoop in and steal the Good Morning America weatherman job from Mark Thompson.
It is true.
Any
that
chance
is true.
to tell people about that is a good chance, a good day for me.
When I said talk to the boys and girls, that's not really what I was hoping for.
Sorry.
But sure, okay, I'll live with it. It's true. It did happen. But no, what I was going to say is just that the preamble that I always offer on the Epstein thing is, in a way, you're right. It is a distraction from the horror that is the immigration policy, chaotic, illegal, the terrorist policy, chaotic, illegal, and the dismantling of the EPA, the polluting of America now, the dismantling of NOAA, of the NWS, National Weather Service. I mean, these are things that are striking at the essence of what America is, leading in science, the Robert F. Kennedy Jr. appointment, and HHS, everything that's happening there, NIH, the complete erasing of all of these brilliant scientists, esteemed scientists. Now the vaccine board populated wall to wall by anti-vaxxers. There is, you're right, a gutting of America and American leadership. I haven't even gotten to the cowing of media companies from Paramount to ABC, the academic community being cowed as well, the legal community having to pledge all of this pro bono work for the current administration in order to get the administration to allow them to pursue the normal course of legal work. Remember, they were being banned from government buildings. Any law firm that had anything to do with any of these, anything involving Trump-related issues, they were being attacked. They went after them. They barred them from government buildings and went beyond just that. So my point in mentioning that laundry list, and even that long list doesn't cover everything, is to say you're right. Epstein is a distraction from that. But it vaults to relevance because of the way it's engulfed this president. It vaults to relevance because of the way Donald Trump is doing any number of things to distract that are real things. So the release of the Martin Luther King Jr. files, which were done deliberately to stain the reputation of Martin Luther King. I'm talking at the time, not talking now. The reason the FBI was surveilling Martin Luther King Jr. was to smear him. They wanted to find dirt on Martin Luther King Jr. That was the J. Edgar Hoover FBI. And so those files were unsealed to smear the memory of Martin Luther King, smear the reputation of this great American, and also as a bone thrown to MAGA Nation. So when you see that happen, when you see the Justice Department going down in the form of the lead justice official, Pam Bondi, accompanied by Todd Blanche, the former Donald Trump lawyer, you see them both going down to meet with Ghislaine Maxwell. That's unprecedented. It's crazy. It can only mean one thing. They're trying to make some deal for Ghislaine Maxwell to say A, B, and C and clear Trump such that this issue can be disposed of. In return, Ghislaine Maxwell will get time served, a break on her sentence, etc.
The fix is in.
So that all is wildly relevant. You can't ignore it. Again, the balance between what's happening with those other things and that which is related to Epstein, that balance is one that we struggle with every day. But it is insanely relevant, the Epstein thing. And it's made, as I say, more relevant every hour that this president begins to do things like build some kind of legal case against Barack Obama, turns his intelligence agency and FBI and other Justice Department officials on Democrats. He's trying to concoct legal cases, you get it, against Democrats. The higher profile, the better. We need those legal cases to take the headlines away from Epstein. That's his thinking.
How much more? How many more years of this? 3.5 now? God.
It's crazy. You're right. It has been, it's been a long first
Lord
year.
How are we going to survive this? I don't know.
Stuff. Yeah.
Can we talk for a minute about speaking of Trump, the CBS scandal? Because there's a couple things that we need to touch on with obviously making news with the cancellation of late night shows with Stephen Colbert and their whole late night lineup. But there's some information about what Paramount is saying and what Trump is getting from all this.
Yeah. This is all in relation to what is a huge deal for the Skydance Paramount merger. Mm-hmm. And Kim is right. I mean, there is there is more and more to the CBS deal. And now, it's all pretty gross, but here's the first gross part. The new CBS owner, according to President Trump, will gift him $20 million worth of airtime. This is in relation to the CBS settlement. Isn't that right, Kim?
Yeah.
The settlement with Paramount. Remember, there's a $16 million payout.
Mm-hmm.
But in addition to that $16 million payout, there will be $20 million worth of advertising and programming. This is days after Colbert has been canceled. And, again, CBS, this is the 60 Minutes lawsuit. They called the lawsuit, and apparently, all the legal experts that we spoke to, David Katz, et cetera, said there's no there on the 60 Minutes re-edit of the Kamala Harris interview. But now we find out that in addition to the $16 million that they pay out, they also are going to get $20 million more from these new owners of Paramount in advertising, public service announcements, or similar programming. It'll be $36 million, again, according to the Trump people. And that's not all. Apparently, one of the things they are talking about, Skydance, is
That, by the way, is the one of the owners of Skydance. The owner, his name is David Ellison.
Right. He met with the FCC chairman, who's Brendan Carr, to get approval for this merger with Paramount. And according to a letter from the Skydance lawyer, the reason we know about this letter is because you have to file a letter. It's a federal filing. Mm-hmm. The transaction has rolled Paramount subsidiary CBS News and its longtime crown jewel 60 Minutes into this deal. And David Ellison, by the way, if the name Ellison means something to you, Larry Ellison is the father of this David Ellison, the Skydance CEO. Anybody on Larry Ellison? Larry Ellison?
CEO of Oracle?
And David Ellison and Skydance's general counsel say they expressed their commitment to embracing diverse viewpoints that will reflect the varied ideological perspectives of American viewers. They also addressed concerns about potential Chinese influence, saying that China-based tech Tencent, which holds a stake in Skydance, will own only a non-voting passive interest in any new version of Paramount. Less than 5%, they say.
Boy, they really want this sale to go through. What does this mean when you have representing varied American interests, so that we're going to tell lies as well as the truth?
It means that MAGA Nation will be represented, Kim.
Got it, yeah.
And the libs can let go of another media empire. No more.
So CBS is the newest Fox, is that right?
This looks as though CBS, under this Skydance Paramount merger, would drift further to the right. The Ellisons are right-wingers. So Ellison is a supporter of President Trump. Larry Ellison, the dad, the Oracle guy, he's a big supporter of Donald Trump. And I would imagine that based on these filings, it sounds like his son is as well, David Ellison. So, I mean, the media landscape is changing. You will need to find independent media like this and, others that are so much bigger than this in order to get a reasonable sense of what's happening as more and more media is absorbed by bigger and bigger M&A stuff, and five guys control everything. I think it's notable that, one of those guys I would have said is Rupert Murdoch. But Rupert Murdoch is being sued by this president. It's pretty extraordinary. And it's pretty extraordinary that Murdoch let that story fly with Epstein. Pretty damning story. The revelations about the birthday card, Trump's signature. That story ran in the Wall Street Journal. That is a well-sourced piece of journalism, typically, that you'll find in the Wall Street Journal. And Trump, who has to punch back, sues the Wall Street Journal. And that's Rupert Murdoch. We told you yesterday that Murdoch had a meeting with J.D. Vance at his ranch without Trump there, without any press there, no notes, just out there in the wilds of, is it Montana? Meeting with J.D. Vance was Murdoch to discuss what? Maybe some additional moves. Who's to say? But that's the state of the state there. But I'm glad you mentioned it because, yes, the Skydance ownership seems to be very much in the thrall of Donald Trump. And they start with Stephen Colbert, the 60-minute settlement, which, as I say, much bigger than we originally had thought. And ultimately, moving forward, they may be creating a media giant that is yet another arm of the current administration and the administration propaganda. They really want this deal to go through. So,
isn't it against the fairness doctrine to? There's a doctrine that says, the media, because it's public airwaves, we have to. I still say we as if I'm in traditional media, but the traditional media has to provide equal airtime to political candidates. If Trump is being given ads and programming $20 million worth by CBS / what will be Skydance CBS, that seems to be kind of unfair.
So you correctly have noted the media fairness doctrine, but it only applies to what you said, the public airwaves. No one's on the public airwaves anymore. People are on cable and streaming. It is completely not covered by the fairness doctrine. So I can say whatever I want on Fox News Channel. I don't have to have any Democrats on here, and I don't have to have any other kind of opposing opinion. So it's been that way for decades now, since sort of the rise of cable television. Now you are in a situation, I'd say, where you have the dominance of cable television, right? It's not even the rise anymore. Few people have a product that's coming into their home through an antenna. It's coming either through the cable or it's coming through the internet, which is also on a cable or fiber optic, et cetera. So all of those old rules don't apply to the new technologies. It's been a giant loophole that propaganda has been able to walk through. So that's the reason that doesn't apply.
Then
You're
what's
right.
the point of what's the point of having an FCC? What does it even cover then?
So this is interesting too. What the FCC is now dealing with is a bunch of stuff that is related to other communications. The FCC isn't just related to broadcast. The FCC is still related to broadband and some of these new
Internet,
technologies.
yeah.
It's just that the political part that you're talking about, that is something that doesn't concern the FCC much anymore. So, all right, I've got to get to some.
The Mark Thompson Show.
I promised I would get to some immigration, and I really do want to do it quickly. So, I think the immigration policy in this country is off the rails. I think the way it's being applied is off the rails, and I think any objective appraisal of how it's being applied has to agree and come to that conclusion. Here's the latest craziness. An Afghan who moved to the United States after working for the U.S. military in his home country of Afghanistan was seized by armed, masked immigration agents, put in a van, and taken out of the state. Identified only as Zia by members of Congress and his attorney out of concern for his safety and that of his family. The man had worked as an interpreter for the U.S. military during the war in Afghanistan. He was in the United States legally. He was arrested after an appointment in Connecticut related to his application for a green card under a program to protect people who worked for U.S. forces. Since starting his second term in January, Republican President Donald Trump has pursued a broad crackdown on immigration. Quote, "What happened to him is the worst kind of abhorrent violation of basic decency," said Senator Richard Blumenthal of Connecticut. He actually worked and risked his life in Afghanistan to uphold the values and rights that are central to democracy. Blumenthal and two other Democrats who served Zia's district in Connecticut are pledging to fight for his release. A judge has issued a temporary stay preventing Zia's removal from the United States, but he does remain in detention. It is an absolute abomination. These are the guarantees that we made to Afghanis who helped us in that ridiculous conflict that went on for decades.
These people put their lives at risk and their families' lives at risk, all for the hope of coming to America and living here and becoming a citizen. And this is the way we repay them?
Not to mention, we guaranteed their safety. We guaranteed that they would be able to pursue that dream of coming into this country. That's exactly right.
But are you going to deport this guy? It means his certain death to send him back to Afghanistan. Seriously?
And when it comes to pursuing these policies, as grotesque, as chaotic, and as utterly without purpose as they are, they've diverted roughly 2,000 officers and agents from the country's ports and borders so that they can support these immigration raids. They've shifted money and personnel because they're trying to up the number of deportations and ICE interdictions that there are every day. Even if it means sapping manpower normally devoted to countering terrorism and drug trafficking along the borders and at ports of entry. The extra bodies, they say here, have come from the U.S. Customs and Border Protection Agency, an agency within the Department of Homeland Security. U.S. Border Patrol is a separate agency and entity from U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, and yet it's all being worked together. The Customs and Border Protection crew is now lending out more than 1,100 of its 19,000 Border Patrol agents and more than 800 of its 2,600 port officers to ICE, according to the latest public documents.
So does that mean that our ports are less secure?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
That seems like a problem.
You can't pull resources and personnel away from the border and the ports without losing something.
So we have no idea what's coming in now with ships and things, and there could be lawlessness at our ports because it's more important to go to Home Depot?
We have less of an idea because it's more important than wrapping up people at Home Depot and deporting Afghanis who helped us with translations when the war in Afghanistan was going on. Yes, that's where we are.
The Mark Thompson Show.
All right, everybody. I am on time, which is an incredible.
What?
I know. It is just an incredible thing. Now, is there a reason that I'm not seeing
Haven't been
Belinda?
anything like this.
It really hasn't. Is Belinda's camera working, Albert? I see her in the green room, but I don't see her. Yeah, there she is. Okay. She likes, I don't blame her. She likes to, she's from show business. Her husband is a major show business guy. I don't know if many people know that.
What?
Yeah. Yeah. She's married to one of the funniest and most successful comics in the modern history of comedy, Jake Johansson. Yeah. He's unbelievable. I've paid big money to see Jake Johansson. You'd think, knowing Belinda and Jake, I wouldn't have to pay anymore. But I do. Just another indignity that I suffer day to day. And before I get to her, I want to just recognize Richard Delamater. A $5, he says, for our darling Kim, mistress of the chat box. Have a beer on me, babe. Wow, Richard Delamater really loves his Kim. And who doesn't? I think he was
Kim, how are you?
Feeling like you might have not liked him or something, or you didn't, that you put him in timeout or something mistakenly.
I don't think I did. No.
No, I don't think you did. I think it was a misunderstanding. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, but anyway, that's where that comes. Jake Johansson is great, says Trevor Starr in Hollywood. He is great. Jake Johansson is like, there are just a handful of comics where I go, I know whatever he's going to say or do is going to make me laugh and think. He's just so talented and smart. Really love Jake, but I couldn't get Jake, so I got his wife on. Yeah, Jake
you know
is
what I
too
like
hard to
about
book.
Jake Johansson is that he married Belinda Weymouth. That's
the smart part.
Claim to
That's
fame.
the smart
That's right.
part. Yeah, exactly. All right, so we love delaying on this show, but without delaying any further.
The Mark Thompson Show.
We like to look at the planet on a weekly basis. It should probably be looked at on an hourly basis, the way things are going, but we do it every week in a segment we call It's the Planet, Stupid.
The planet Earth.
Some call me nature.
I am very passionate about the planet.
Earth.
A living, breathing planet capable of sustaining whatever life forms we see fit to deposit on it.
Spock, judging by the pollution content of the atmosphere, I believe we have arrived.
It's the planet stupid. No. It's the planet stupid.
Our guide for It's the Planet Stupid is eco-journalist Belinda Waymouth. Hi, Belinda.
Hi, how are you?
We are well. There was a story that kind of went viral about the movement of all of these animals in Yellowstone. And the way I saw it on TikTok, I saw it everywhere. The way it goes down is, and then there are pictures of all of these animals moving en masse.
Yep.
And the way it goes down is people were saying they're moving because they see and feel stuff close to nature that we don't feel. And what they're feeling is seismic activity associated with a coming volcanic eruption.
Yeah.
But it turns out what?
AI generated photos and social media commentators went nuts and, scared everybody and said, there's going to be, the caldera is going to erupt, the end of the world is nigh. They didn't go to the National Park Service and check out what was really happening. They just took these AI-generated photos of masses of animals. If you can put it up, Albert, I mean, it's, there are, bears all over the roads. And, it's like, guys, before you have your freak out, go to the source and check what's actually happening. It's insane. It's completely insane.
Yeah,
and also, there are all these people. So this is a normal day at Yellowstone, and then on the Blue Social link that you had the interaction with one of our listeners saying, what's going on, Mark, that shows all the animals there. And what's actually happening at national parks is, you've got all these experts who are looking at, any seismic activity, any volcanic gases that are coming out of the ground. So here's the picture that was,
So for those just
AI.
listening, it's a bunch. You see bear cubs. I mean, scores of them, and other bears sitting in the road, flanked on either side of the road by the trees of Yellowstone. But you're suggesting that this is all AI generated.
Yeah. And the National Park Service did come out and say, because these photos have been going around for a couple of weeks, and they were able to say, look, this has gone viral and everyone's, making a big brouhaha about it. But this isn't actually what's going on. And, the last time that there was, the last two times that there were volcanic eruptions in Yellowstone, one was 174,000 years ago, and the other was over 600,000 years ago. But Yellowstone is being monitored at all times. So these animals, and animals also can't sense when a volcanic eruption is is coming. You don't see screeds of animals running. I know when we have earthquakes, you will see, the birds get up in the air and, start moving, but it has to be super, super imminent, and this wasn't a warning. But, it goes viral. Social media has become a news source for so many people. And so you can have this really misguided news flash. And it's not a news flash. It's thank you, AI. So this is the problem.
It's great. It's clickbaity, that's the problem. It's all about clicks.
Yeah. And it looks amazing. And of course it does catch your eye. And I'm, so skeptical now because I know we all love, the Instagram of the cute animals. And I don't know if anyone's seen the snow leopards being saved, but it was so obviously AI generated. It's a snow leopard cub who goes and finds these climbers and gets them to come back and rescue its mother. And she's stuck in this, sort of crevasse, like, super dangerous. And you see these climbers saving her. Well, if you actually watch the footage, you can see her head is wonky. It's AI generated. It didn't happen. But does it get your heartstrings? Oh, yes, it does. Human megafauna interaction. We love that stuff. But we have to question, really question now with AI. It's out to get us. It's out to manipulate us.
Well, I want to pivot from that to something that is really happening. It's real life. The EPA with a new plan drafted that would be radical. Apparently, it will give the this is a draft of a plan to repeal a fundamental scientific finding that gives the U.S. government authority to regulate greenhouse gas emissions and fight climate change. So this takes away, again, another regulatory muscle from that agency, which is supposed to protect pollutants from the environment and to protect us a bit from climate change and the release of gases like carbon dioxide and methane, et cetera.
Yeah, well, I mean, he did this the last time he was in office. It was all about undermining the EPA and what they can do. And obviously this will become, a legal battle, and we'll have to, see what happens. I mean, it's just more in the playbook. And I have to say, sometimes, it's like the thing that Obama had to come out and say, with what they're talking about that he did with, Hillary Clinton and, trying to stop, Trump winning the first time. It's a lot of noise that goes on that sort of distracts from the nefarious things that are happening. The thing that you were talking about just before I came on, the things that are happening with immigration. I feel like there's a lot of stuff gets thrown up there, and I feel like a lot of it is to distract from, the really terrible things that are actually happening. I mean, obviously, he's going to do everything he can to say that climate change isn't real. I mean, it's that's part of his agenda, and
I mean, I feel like regulatory power has already been taken from the EPA in part by court cases. You know what I mean? That was one of the big cases that was before the Supreme Court. It was designed to remove the power of agencies like the EPA from regulation, from the leverage that they had over these various aspects of American life, in this case, the environment. So, and chemical plants, and it was quite an extensive list of things, because what they went to the Supreme Court to get them to adjudicate over was the EPA's legal role in regulation. You'll remember, it would involve a fishing boat. It was, they always take one specific case, and there was an EPA government-appointed official that had to be on this boat. And it all started with the EPA official being compensated by without getting too much into the weeds. There was like the compensation of $500 a day of this guy on the boat. How can they do that? How can they force us to pay for a regulator, et cetera? And it brought into the legal sphere the question of whether or not the EPA even has the power to regulate. And that was really where we were. I mean, it was at Chevron deference, I think, on one level also applied to that. So I feel as though this is the train that has been chugging along for a time. And now with all these legal allies and governmental allies, it's really achieving some momentum.
Yeah. Well, you load the courts, like he did, with his judges, and then and then he comes in for a second term, and he has this lever to pull, at every turn, and it's terrible. It's terrible. I mean, one of the things that I wanted to talk about today, and it's sort of along the same lines. It's what is happening with trying to regulate, climate change, and what's happening right now is also what we're trying to do with the plastic pollution crisis on a global level, and what's happening at the UN. the UN, and I feel like also, courts here, because of Citizens United and how much, money we have in the political game, the UN and also US politics are really hijacked, by money and the power that corporations have and that petrochemical companies have. And it really limits the protections and what government organizations like the EPA and then also our elected officials are able to do to protect us. And what we're seeing on an international level with the UN and say climate change is that the UN they don't have the backbone to stand up to the power, the money and the obfuscation of facts that we get from the petrochemical, industry. And so what's happening right now, so the UN has got this, the United Nations Environment Program. They're holding these treaty talks. They've been doing it since 2022 to try and stop this incredible flow of plastics that, come into use, that are single use, and then what happens to them, because they're ending up in the ocean. We know that plastic is ending up, in our food, it's in our IPA beer, it's in the water that we drink, it's been found in our blood. This is Indonesia and these people on these boats. So this is where a river mouth comes out into the ocean and they're trying to pick out the bits of plastic that are actually recyclable. Now, remember, only 9% of plastic gets recycled and is in fact recyclable because it, it has to be a certain grade for us to be able to recycle it. And the awful thing about these negotiations is that the petrochemical industry has completely infiltrated them. So lobbyists are there in actual greater numbers than delegates, and sometimes 3 times as many lobbyists as there are scientists at these meetings, because they can afford to go, because the meetings are in, and it's exactly like what's happening here, onshore, with petrochemical companies wanting to limit the regulations that the EPA has to stop them polluting. It's exactly the same, and also, as we've talked about before, the plastics industry is a branch of the petrochemicals because where do plastics come from? They come from the ethane and methane, which is a byproduct of oil when we refine oil. And we also have excessive amounts of methane and ethane thanks to all the fracking that we've done. And so we have cracker facilities, which is where they turn these gases into plastics, being built all over the world, all over the US. They're being built in Europe, they're being built in China. And they say that the production of plastic is going to increase 3-fold by 2060. We're already producing 450 million tons of new plastic every year on top of the plastic that's already been produced and that we're trying to deal with and recycle. So I think we're really in this sort of, this really awful place where these crises, these different crises, the climate change and putting too much greenhouse gases into the atmosphere, making too many plastics, this has all been hijacked by these companies who, this is their bottom line. They want to keep making the money and they don't care about the environmental impact or the pollution that it causes us.
I think you frame it so beautifully. The ugliness of it is framed beautifully because it is hard in this fog of war associated with the environment and with greed and with the desire to expand and to feed the bottom line and development worldwide. It's hard to roll back production of anything. I mean, I think in the form of plastic, you see sort of the crescendo of these things, as you said, like of these fossil fuels taking on this form of plastic, which is we're inundated by. But you see it in exploitation of chemical production of all sorts worldwide. And the UN, it's a little like what's happening in Gaza. I mean, the UN can decry it. The nations of the world can point to it, talk about the horror. It can be agreed upon as a horror, but their ability to do anything is somewhat limited. And I'd say this is an existential horror that is being perpetrated to the world. And we're all suffering from it with cancers, with health effects that are demonstrable. and our ability to do anything is limited. It would be a polite way to put it. It's pretty much non-existent.
Well, when you allow the polluters a place at the table, I mean, I think that's so egregious. Like there's the Bureau of National Representatives who run the treaty talks. So they have last year a Saudi Arabia Ministry of Energy official was voted on to this 10-person bureau, and it's like, this is like inviting the NRA to come to a school where there was a recent shooting to talk about, how do we control guns? And sorry if that's super incendiary to anyone who's listening, but I really feel that it's on the level of that. You can't invite or let the polluters be at the table because, now what's happening, because all these polluters, basically all these lobbyists can, have more money and can be part of these negotiations and can even become, members of the delegation. They're going to these talks about plastic pollution and they're completely intimidating anyone who's talking about what a problem it is. There's the story of this one, she's a Swedish eco-toxicologist, and last year in Ottawa, when they were having, one of these treaty talks, they're about to have the sixth one in Geneva next month. She was surrounded by a ring of lobbyists who were screaming at her that she was misrepresenting the truth. She has to have a screen on her cell phone, one of those privacy screens so that they can't see what she's looking at. She doesn't open her computer until she knows who's behind her because she doesn't want them to see any of the information that she's dealing with. And because the UN is relying, and it relies on all these member nations to finance it, so Saudi Arabia and these other countries give lots of money. And then you've got the ED of the UNEP, the United Nations Environment Program, going to Saudi Arabia. In 2024, they had the Environmental World Day in Saudi Arabia. They paid $1 million to do it. Now, countries do that.
Yeah,
and NES is making, the linear city, which is going to be, no emissions, and people are going to live sustainably on all those different levels. We've talked about it before on the program. But they, behind the US, are the second biggest, petrochemical country in the world. They are, one of the biggest producers of plastics, and they are leading this group at these treaty talks on how to reduce plastics. They're leading the group that they directly took the playbook out of the tobacco industry's tactics. You obfuscate the truth, you take charge of the narrative, you turn it around on us, you tell it it's our fault. I mean, I said Albert the picture of the crying Indian because that ad campaign in the 1970s told Americans that they were the ones who were the problem. They were the polluters, not the fact that now Coca-Cola and everyone, rather than putting their drinks into a glass bottle that could actually be recycled, we were giving these single-use plastic bottles full of Coca-Cola, and that then they had to deal with the problem at the end, that we have to pay, get involved, pollution hurts all of us, but we were told, that we were the polluters, and we pay for it. Our tax money goes to our municipalities, to our local governments to pay for our waste management system. So I think that I just think these talks and where we're at as a society, it's really been hijacked by the ones in power. We sort of see it here with, well, we're not sort of see it, we're seeing it here with, the billionaires who really have a seat at the table and have Trump's ear. And what activist countries are really calling upon for Geneva and for the next round of treaty talks on curbing plastic pollution is that we really have to be there and be strong and stand up to the polluters. And, basically, Mark, it's like we have to try our hardest because the plastic pollution is so, it's so bad. It's so bad.
It's a proliferation. And what I was going to ask, we're out of time, but I was going to ask you, or just remark on the fact that the Europeans seem to be just, now, particularly given the fact that we're just turning back the clock to like 1958 or whatever, the Europeans seem to really be far more able to take on some of these industries, or at least to regulate them in some responsible way? Or is that just my perception of it? Are they actually succumbing to the same kind of big money buyout of policy that we succumb to here?
Well, one of the things that, Bernie talks about all the time, Bernie Sanders, and, a lot of other politicians, and, I talk about it because I come from the parliamentary system. In the parliamentary system, you have 3 months to campaign to win office, to become the prime minister. You could only do it if you have the majority, that your party gets the majority, so that when you're in, it's not like the executive branch, and then you can win the presidency but not have your party in. But it's also the money. You only get a certain amount of public monies. It's nowhere near the billions that get spent to get elected here. So because of Citizens United, and because corporations now can give, just inundate, and they do it on both sides. They do it with Democratic and Republican.
Oh, sure, of course.
Because they want to have, influence whoever gets in. And so until you take the money out of politics, and when you have a parliamentary system, you don't have so much money in politics. It's just, you get in, you use public money. It's a shorter campaigning time. And so the public have more of a say and more control in what their representatives do than we do with the system that we have here. And I think also the really important thing about Europe, and I think this is because it's older, so it's been dealing with sort of intersocietal problems for, millennia, whereas this is a very new country. And they also operate under the precautionary principle, which we don't do here. The precautionary principle is you have to prove something is safe before you're allowed to put it on the market. You have to know that it's safe and that it's not going to hurt consumers. It's not toxic to put, on your face, in your mouth, wash your hair with, feed your baby foods. But we don't operate under the precautionary principle. Here, things go to market. Yes, they have to be FDA approved, but once they're on the shelves, and if we know they're causing harm, we have to prove it retrospectively after they're already on the shelves. And that's a big legal battle, again, to come back to what we were talking about at the very beginning with the EPA and now all these legal fights. You have to prove the harm before you can remove it from the shelves. We don't use the precautionary principle, and we would do a lot better by our citizens if we did.
Sure. No, so interesting to me, the way our culture has evolved, and our society and our government has evolved, awash in money and awash in special interests, that are wealthy and driven by their ability to essentially buy legislation, buy regulators, everybody from the FDA to the FCC to the EPA. But EPA has been always an agency that has governed with a pretty strong regulatory arm, but now completely defanged. I mean, it's really sad to see. But we're out of time. I thought we did some good stuff today, though, so I felt pretty good about it.
Yeah. And can I leave everyone with one happy story? I sent Albert a photograph of the bears. There's one bear actually in the photograph, but I just wanted to tell everyone quickly. So we talked about last year after I'd been to Laos, and we went to Luang Prabang, and we went to this organization called Free the Bears. And they're working super, super hard to get bears out of the bear bile industry. So they just saved 2 brown bear cubs recently.
Oh, that's sweet. Albert, you don't have that? Where is the, do you have a picture?
I sent, there's a link, and there's a picture of a bear. Yeah. Oh, I was hoping we could just get the bear. But yeah, there's a brown bear that's, being saved. And you know what they say with these bears? So if anyone wants to get involved with an organization that's really doing a massively amazing good work for these beautiful animals, it takes a lot of money to look after. Oh, thanks, that's beautiful. So the two cubs have just been saved. They will have to be with Free the Bears, with the organization, for the next 35 years. They will be looked after and they will be rehabbed. They're wounded, they've been hurt, they're not.
They use their bile. Is that?
Yeah. They take the bile out of them while they're alive. They have the horrible.
We're a pretty awful species.
We are. But these two are saved. So if you want to be involved with something cool, Free the Bears is an amazing organization, and it's
freethebears.org.
Yeah.
We were in Luang Prabang. We didn't go to Free the Bears.
Next time you got to go back. You got to see those bears. They're cute.
I love that village. Or we meant to. Yeah. There you go. Belinda, thank you. Appreciate
My
you.
pleasure.
And
My
our best
pleasure,
to Jake.
absolutely.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Belinda Waymouth, everybody. That's It's the Planet Stupid for today.
More. It's the Planet Stupid. No. It's the Planet Stupid.
Next time, only on The Mark Thompson Show.
The Mark Thompson Show.
How did this happen, Kim? I don't know how we've run out of time, but we have, and I feel as though
I blame you.
Well, maybe it is my fault. I'm sure, in part, I'm to blame. But
Albert, thank you.
Yeah, Albert is probably also to blame. We know one thing: Kim is not to blame for anything. No.
Big story on the way out. You ready for it?
Yeah, go for it.
The headline reads, Trump told by Bondi his name is in the Epstein files. This is a new report, according to the Wall Street Journal.
You mean the non-existent Epstein files? There's nothing to see here? Boy, Bondi goes from files are on my desk and I'm going to be reviewing them in a moment to files don't contain anything. It's a big nothing burger. Wow, there's no there to, oh, wait a minute. Those files must have been under some other files. I've just found them. And yes, your name, sir, all over the files. Wow.
They are kissing my ass.
I don't think so. I think this is, wow. That's a breaker. Is that what you call it in the news business, Kim?
That's a breaker.
Yeah. I'm telling you what.
This is no picnic, no summer camp.
That's right. Life's getting tough. There it is from the Wall Street Journal.
Thanks, Wall Street Journal.
Justice Department told Trump in May that his name is among many in the Epstein files. So he knew about it all along.
You cannot say you love your country.
The truth is the truth. You can't skate away from it, Mr. President.
Don't talk to me that way.
Unbelievable. There it is. Again, reading the headline. Bondi also told President at that meeting that Justice decided to not release more Jeffrey Epstein documents because of the presence of child pornography and the need to protect victims. This is a gross story. It is grotesque. It is a story that is so full of things that will creep you out and turn your stomach because it involves children, underage girls and boys, and Donald Trump's name is among the many in the Epstein files. That is the headline from the Wall Street Journal, and he was told as much in May. This is big, big trouble, and this story will only grow. So
That was very inappropriate.
it is something that we will report more on. Tomorrow, the legal side of this from David Katz, the Bondi visit, the Blanche visit to Ghislaine Maxwell, and the legal ramifications of all of this, even the legal ramifications of the Trump connection to this. It is all pretty disturbing. Good stuff, Kim, for getting it in before we said goodbye. We do have to say goodbye, though, so can we get to whatever we need to get to? Angel in the Bay Area says in a $10 super chat, goodbye, Star Trek.
What?
Oh, yeah, because Star Trek is a Paramount property. Is that what Angel in the Bay Area means? I'm guessing.
Yeah.
Wow. Well,
my husband asked me last night, do we want to cancel our Paramount subscription to, send a message? Oh.
I don't know. I never know. Do those messages make it? Do they matter? I always felt the Washington Post cancellations, that was a mistake.
Mm-hmm.
When all these people, with the virtue signaling, I've canceled my subscription to the Washington Post since they didn't endorse Kamala Harris, or they didn't endorse anyone for president. No, they're doing great journalism at the Washington Post. I wouldn't, but I get it. It's great to, social media post about that. But when the McAllister house cancels their Paramount Plus, that's a different story. So Lucy McAllister, I don't know whether she has Paramount Plus or no.
Lucy,
my favorite McAllister.
Big shout out.
Lucy's number one. Then again, Julia's number two. And then the rest of them.
I'm somewhere hovering around the 9 or 10
I don't know where you are. I lost interest after number two, to be honest. But Lucy is wonderful and getting to be HOF on this show. And
I like Kevin. Kevin McAllister is my favorite.
Kevin McAllister, come on. Yeah. Angel in the Bay Area says, bravo, correct Trek reference for Belinda's intro. I see. The intro with judging from the pollution, I'd say we have arrived. Isn't that something like that? That's the quote. But I'll tell you the truth. I could continue like this all day and just wait for the next Wall Street Journal breaking news. But
bombshell. Multiple times his name is in the report, according to the Wall Street Journal.
Multiple times his name is in the report. He is hip deep.
Did anyone think it was going to be different? We all knew, right?
Yeah, of course, we all knew it, but to actually know that it's there in the report and maybe know where to hide. Yeah, I don't know. Man. Well, tomorrow, David Katz joins, and we'll talk again about the legal ramifications of all of this.
Gil Gross will be here as well.
Gil Gross will be here tomorrow. I love it. You lose me. I'd say it was a trade. It was one of those giant trades, Albert. You trade Thompson, you pick up Gil Gross. Yeah, on to the championship. The After Party Live is next over on the After Party Live channel, and until tomorrow.
I'm Shadow Stevens for the Mark Thompson Show. Bye-bye.
Albert, thank you. Kim, thank you. We're out of time.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, everybody who supports the show and participates. And until tomorrow, bye-bye.